Good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our morning Natural Health News live show. I hope this finds you having a great day. Today, I'm very excited to talk to you about a whole bunch of COVID news, but specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about some changes with some FDA language. But most importantly, that language is specific to a particular type of immune system function. And we are going to talk about your platelets and how to naturally boost your platelets to raise your counts up to a normal level. I actually have a lot of experience in this. Personally, Brian, my better half, has a very unique autoimmune dysfunction of his platelets. So his body, when he gets sick or run down, stressed, whatnot, his body attacks his platelet levels. So I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of really powerful foods to consume, some supplementation that you can eat to help bolster and enhance your platelet levels. And why this is really critical, friends, is that your platelets actually play a significant role as your immune defense mechanism. They are the frontline workers, if you will, of your immune response. Not only do they help coagulate and heal the blood and wounds, but they also are the first responders to viruses, bacteria, and an assortment of allergens. And one of the things that platelets do, especially in this kind of COVID world, is that we know from research, the platelets actually have significant roles in the inflammatory response and inflammation within the immune response as well. So this is going to be critical. One of the things that's powerful in helping support your immune system is to get control of your platelets and bolster them. We're going to talk a lot about that today. So welcome, everybody. I am juggling a little bit here. Brian has taken our puppy to the vet and they want to do a full thorough exam. So he's sitting there waiting for her. We're hoping everything's okay. She hasn't been chasing her ball. But Gabriel's in another room close by doing his art and science. So we may have some interruptions. Just want to fair warn. We're virtual learning and working at home like many of you. So you might see a cutie pie in his little uniform pop in, and there might be some voices out in that region that might get a little louder. Plus, we've got, apparently the yard guys are a day delayed, so it's a little chaotic here. But welcome, everybody. Let me know where you're tuning in from if you're catching us on the live, and for all of you on the replay, the first part of my show, this is a live show, lots of comments in live chat. I welcome you to participate and comment in the description box below or in the comment box. But definitely do know that one of the things that this live show does, we talk about COVID news. In the latter half of our show, we talk about the specific topic of how to naturally boost your platelets. And if you are curious about that, I'll have a timestamp on all of the replay or for you to click on that and get to that news. But today I want to talk a lot about some specific information. Actually, I have hot off the presses. Let me grab this for all of you. Hot off the presses is some information about our cases with children. So this is news from the American Academy of Pediatrics. They posted the reports from the first 2 weeks, really, of August. So the 6th of August through the 20th. Children cases, COVID cases in children has increased by 21%. And that is attributed to going back to school. They have seen in the population per capita, there's about 583 cases of children per 100,000 kids. So 583 will test positive out of 100,000. And the hospitalizations have moved up to 8.6% with children. So I just want to highlight that for all of us who have kids. If you're, however you're working this season, this is highly stressful for all of us. And we just have to make do and make the best decision for our families and our whole environment. So I do want to highlight the world is approaching, like today, we will hit 24 million positive cases of COVID. US is at 5.8 million. So by the end of the week, we'll hit 6 million. And one of the things that we're seeing internationally is that there are pockets of spread. Australia still is dealing with some of the spread. We're now seeing isolated cases in Seoul, Korea. And Korea actually has linked over 66 of the cases. What, honey?
I need help.
What do you need help with?
I don't know what they're doing, and I need to do what they're doing.
Okay, hold on, you guys. Are they here? Do you want to say hi to everybody?
I don't have any.
Isn't he the cutest? This is my little smarty pants, right? Okay, I think they're doing art. I got you. You've got crayons and you've got paper.
Why is my like this?
I don't know.
Red.
Oh, it's red. Oh, well, because you might have been drinking. Well, I don't know, but you have really cute red lips. Okay, what you can do, you can hit unmute and ask Miss Munoz for help, okay? But you click the little red button and then she can help you, okay? But ask her what you need, alrighty, buddy? No. Go. Okay. Thanks, buddy. Go back and ask Miss Munoz. Okay. All right. Sorry. This might be one of many interruptions, but so what I was saying is Starbucks, they've linked 66 cases of isolated outbreak in Seoul, Korea at Starbucks. And apparently they've had a few employees that have been infected, but most of it has been through customers not wearing masks in Starbucks. So that is kind of interesting, and Starbucks is trying to manage that. The other thing here in the U.S., I want to dig into what's some stats. We've actually seen some increases where like California had some average lower cases in the last week. They now have moved up to 9,400 new positive cases yesterday. Fatalities are up over 100. So, we kind of saw a lull, and now things are back to where they used to be in multiple states. So California had 123 fatalities yesterday. Florida posted just below 3,000 new cases, but they had 183 fatalities. So these are 2 and 3 weeks delayed that we're seeing that. Texas also had a really substantial day yesterday, over 6,300 new cases and 181 fatalities. And there's concern with the hurricane that's barreling through the Gulf of Mexico. Here he comes again. The Gulf of Mexico. They're anticipating. Well, you have to unmute. You have to click that, the little button.
But they didn't answer. No answer.
Just click unmute and say, Miss Munoz. Now she's helping a lot of people, honey. So go back and ask her, okay? You have to be patient. You have to ask a few times so she can hear you. Okay, please, honey. You don't mess with any of those. Gabriel. Hold on, you guys. Gabriel. Buddy, you're going to break mommy's thing. Go in there, please, and click unmute. So this is an example of like 4-year-olds can't do virtual learning by themselves. Okay, so Texas and Louisiana, there are major concerns about the hurricane and the amount of cases that people might be displaced. They might have to go to shelters and what that's going to look like as super spreading events. They're already starting to talk about that right now. And then I just want to highlight like Georgia and Illinois also had really high fatalities. Georgia had been at 18, 20 fatalities. We moved to 106 fatalities yesterday. And again, these are from 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, the cases that had tested positive, and then they go through the hospitalization and the process of this virus. Illinois had 238 fatalities. Connecticut, Danbury, Connecticut is a little pocket. So there's an isolated pocket in Danbury. In 2 weeks, they've had over 40 cases. That kicked off in August. And now they're up to 178 cases in that area. So just want to highlight, we are seeing some pockets in certain areas. Now, Sturgis, I highlighted Sturgis yesterday. We have more data. We're going to get more data every day as more cases come through. But now a total of 8 states and 103 cases are linked to folks traveling to and participating in the Sturgis event. We have 37 cases of South Dakotans, so the folks that live in Sturgis, 37 cases from them participating or attending or, bartending or tattooing or doing whatever they were doing. But, the citizens there, 37 cases linked to folks coming in. And then we have, let's see, I think it's 7 states right now where they've quantified. Like Minnesota, now they're up to 27 cases linked from Sturgis. North Dakota, 17. Washington, 1. Nebraska, 7. Wyoming, 7. Montana, 5. And Wisconsin, 2 cases. And that will continue to grow. And Taryn says about Connecticut, Danbury is a very small community. So that is one of those, really, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a big community, but you have big community spread. Now, the other things, looks like he's talking to the teacher. Okay. The CDC is reviewing, the CDC, I just have to highlight this. There's 2 things. The CDC and both the FDA have walked back on some communication. The CDC very silently, and I didn't catch this yesterday on their website, but I caught wind of a tweet that they had posted late Monday, that they're rolling back testing in the event you may have had exposure, which is really insane. And it's getting a lot of flack because community spread and asymptomatic cases. Their tweet was that the guidelines, their guidelines, you might not necessarily have to go and get tested if you've been exposed. So if you're healthy without symptoms, they're actually now, because of the testing shortage, recommending you not to get tested. It's just no way of controlling a virus. So that might change, but this is definitely driven by, the desire to keep the cases low and to make it seem like we don't have the amount of spread we had. The challenge is that we are going to see, even when testing does get ramped up, like the Yale test, we'll probably see really big spikes in quantity of folks. But what they consider is close contact exposure, or exposure is close contact of 15 minutes to somebody who might be infected. Now, I want to highlight some of the universities. Colleges, are getting a lot of scrutiny. We've seen campuses now going online, and even students going back and choosing online, but they're still on campus. A lot of colleges are tracking the students. There are sensors, apps, and even police tracking that's occurring. And some of this is really raising the alarm of the students. They don't want to be tracked. It's not just GPS, but the data of their heart rate is taken, with monitors, temperature, things like that. But Oakland University in Detroit has rolled out something called the Bio Button. And the Bio Button is a button that they wear on them. It's connected to an app. It looks like Instagram's buffering for some reason. It's connected to an app, and it measures the heart rate and the temperature. And it's a screening tool. And when things change, heart rate or temperature, as might be the case with COVID exposure and symptoms, it alerts them and it actually turns green. And so yesterday I highlighted, guys, I love all these reality shows. And one of my favorites is Hard Knocks. I got caught up. I watched the 2nd episode, and they actually show very similar to this kind of button. They've got a little device that one of the teams wears, and it's green if you are in social distancing. But if you get too close to anybody else wearing one of those, it turns red. So, it's kind of funny. They literally were like, get back from me. And, it turns red. And the trackers are there as ways to remind people to stay socially distant, but also it's a screening tool. And this Bio Button turns green if their heart rate and their heart rate and temperature are okay. But if there's a change, let's say they start to run a fever, it turns red, and that is an indication they need to go make an appointment and see the health counselor. So I found that interesting. University of Tennessee also has a self-screening method where the students check in and have an app where they approve it. Hey, buddy, are you drawing?
They said to make my favorite animal, and this is my favorite animal.
What's your favorite animal?
Daisy.
Daisy.
This is Daisy.
That's good. Oh, I like her little face. Those are yours. Will you give her a tail and some feet, please?
No, I liked no tail and feet.
Here, please go give her a tail. And that looks so pretty. Will you show Miss Munoz? Show it in front of the screen. Go, buddy. Okay. So also University of Michigan is using police to patrol campus. But a lot of students, there's a backlash to that question as to where the data is going. Parents are concerned. But ultimately, we're not seeing a great degree of social distancing and containment of the virus already within the first 1 to 2 weeks of campus life. What has kind of spurred today's topic is the FDA, I announced, I think it was Monday, over the weekend had announced, FDA authorization for plasma treatments, which is very common. It's commonly used now, plasma transfusions, which, by the way, Brian's had several, so we're really familiar with that world of plasma transfusions. Part of it is to help give antibodies to a patient. And so the plasma is donated from an individual who has recently recovered. And that does help the individual get the antibodies and helps the body's immune system recognize. So a lot of times individuals will have decrease in their platelet levels. So the FDA is now walking back some of the specific language that they made in the statement. And the language is specific to a data point. 35% was what was stated as the efficacy and just the improvement in fatalities. What we don't know, and where he's walking back, the scientific community just outraged because we don't have a blind study. So we don't have folks that don't have plasma versus there isn't a trial situation. So we can't say definitively 35 of those who use, 35% of those who use it versus those who don't. They're not articulating those who don't. And so it's really hard to extrapolate what the percentage of efficacy and effectiveness is. So the FDA director is walking back on that 35% point. And it's specific to the increase in the dosing. So do they increase the dose of plasma treatment? Do they do that one time? Do they do that 2 times, 3 times? That's where there was some gray area. And, again, this goes to a lot of credibility, right? The CDC and FDA are not presenting themselves in a light where a lot of people are trusting the data and the information because they go back and, they go forward and they go back. And it's so much driven by bureaucracy and politics. And unfortunately, the FDA is now backtracking. But today, in this topic, I do want to highlight what the importance is of plasma as a treatment therapeutic for a multitude of diseases. Brian happens to have a platelet autoimmunity. But a lot of folks, cancer patients and a lot of individuals, find benefit. And I've even highlighted PRP, which is plasma-rich, platelet-rich plasma, which has very healing benefits. We are seeing this as a natural alternative to healing and rejuvenation. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But 2 things, there's a study, so going beyond the FDA, there's a big time study about what happened in Boston. You guys know I lived up there. I've completed my post-clinical work up in Boston. And I still have a lot of friends, close friends that live up there. And one of the big things that happened in March, there was a massive super spreading conference. It was a biotech conference in Cambridge, across the river and the bridge from Boston. And this conference was considered a super spreading conference. Well, now we've got specific data and information about how overwhelming this spreading event was. They connect this event. It was like 150 biotech people. There's a connection to 20,000 cases from this one conference. And there were 90 people at the conference who tested positive. So 90 people ended up moving it out, and it spread secondary, 3rd, 4th degree spread to outward to 20,000 people. So that's like, this whole wedding event in Maine where they saw the outbreak, say college campuses, for sorority fraternities, an elementary school, you can have a small community. 90 doesn't seem like a lot. It's a lot. Some states or some countries are closing down the entire country for less, but 90 people moved it out and infected 20,000 people. And this research, it's called the phylogenetic analysis of SARS-CoV-2 and the Boston area highlights the role of recurrent importation and super spreading events. So basically, they track the DNA and the gene typing of the virus, and they look at just how overwhelming and how many people were impacted and the outbreaks that occurred from the super spreading events. They also look at the homeless shelter. They look at a nursing facility as well. So they have some other areas. And basically they identify that, the cases spread exponentially. It spread outward. It spread to multiple states. It even spread to other countries. And so this is quite overwhelming when it comes down to just how important it is to track and to identify the spread. But this is what is so crazy. They look at this outbound spreading, and then they highlight the different countries. So we have Massachusetts. So it moves from Boston to the state, then the Northeast. So up in the Northeast, then all over North America. They've got Europe, and they've got little bits in Asia, Africa, and South America. And they look at the gene typing of this. And it is very interesting. They can track just the spread. And that is where science is really fascinating. It's like detective work, but gene detectives. So I thought that was really interesting. I wanted to share that with you. They also tracked it. This is how they track the event. And so the conference, this is the conference right here. It's hard to see, but it's a yellow dot. And then people who attended this conference infected these other people. So literally the conference kicked off a nursing home outbreak. It also kicked off, it kicked off multiple nursing home outbreaks. So it's like really crazy. Look, it has legs. And so you can see just the spread, but you can have super spreading events. So if you attend a super spreading event and you move to somebody, you contact with somebody else who gets in contact, who's at an event, now you've got dual super spreading events occurring. So I'll post a link. I didn't get a chance to post a link to this, but this is just fascinating. So I wanted to highlight that. And then the last news is that American Airlines has announced that they're going to lay off 17,500 employees. 8,100 are flight attendants, 1,600 are pilots, and then an assortment of other professionals. Hey, buddy. What's going on?
I just want to see.
You just want to say hi to everybody? Say hi, everybody.
My name is Dariel. And you see, I have lips like this, but they're supposed to be a different color like my skin. Yeah, but it's just red.
Well, sometimes if you're going like that, you're getting blood flow to your lips, and sometimes that's why they get a little redder. Okay.
Yeah, that's sometimes.
Okay. Hey, buddy, mommy's going to tell them how to boost their platelet levels, and then I'll be all done. Okay. Okay. And then we'll do a little project. Okay. 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 Love you. Okay. Go see the class. Okay. Nope. You can get that after we're all done. Go. Yep. Go. Okay. All righty. So go, buddy. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about how to boost your platelet level and platelet counts naturally. And there are several different ways to do this, but ultimately this is impactful for individuals who might have a weakened immunity, dealing with autoimmunity, cancer recovery, cancer treatments, as well as anybody who might be dealing with a virus or a bacterial invasion that has dropped those levels. It is very common. We will have an ebb and flow of our platelet levels as they respond to natural occurring events. And as a frontliner that's addressing allergens, so allergy season could be a good point where you want to boost your platelet levels. You might be dealing with a virus or bacterial invasion, and this could be mild to extreme. But this is where, when we look at in the world of COVID and plasma treatments, the the best thing that you can do just to fortify your system and to make those plasma treatments most impactful is to bolster and boost up your platelet level counts. And there are ways to do this. You can eat to naturally boost your platelet level counts, and then you can take certain supplementation. Some of the supplementation are the building blocks. So your body needs to not be in a deficient state of certain compounds, and they will then trigger the synthesis of more platelets. So sometimes we have to go to the deeper kind of ingredients to allow your body to naturally make the platelets. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I want to list off some core foods that are highly potent, and they're always in our pantry. They're always in our refrigerator. Papaya. You can have fresh, you can have papaya juice, you can have dried papaya, but papaya is a powerful platelet booster. Pumpkin seeds, pumpkin, the fruit. Oh, it looks like Mina's home. Okay. Pumpkin is critical. Pomegranate is another. So we've got papaya, pumpkin, pomegranate, 3 Ps. Pomegranate juice, pomegranate seeds. You can make pomegranate jelly. There's a lot of different good things that you can do with pomegranate. Then also some of the building blocks that we want to add in to our diet are going to come from mineral dense and nutrient dense sources. And that would be like a beef liver. Most of us don't consume that, but you can have beef liver capsules. Clams are very rich in the natural ingredients, the building blocks for platelets, as well as eggs, kidney beans, and lentils. We love lentils in our household, and lentils are a great protein source. They're a really good fiber source. It's really, really wonderful for boosting your platelet levels. And when I hiked in the Himalayas, part of bolstering the oxygen level and increasing the red blood cells and the platelets, we ate dalbat, so lentils, all the time. We ate it with onions and mushroom and garlic, but specifically, lentils are going to be a critical source to increase. So you can have, bone broth with your lentils. You can stew your lentils in bone broth. You could drop in, if you wanted, some dried, beef liver or additives like that are natural that would increase it. You could add some clams into that. And you could make a soup that is very, very potent. And also you could juice papaya. You could eat pumpkin seeds and pumpkin. There are a lot of really good things that you can do, and just think outside the box in terms of how you want to consume those. But these are the critical nutrients that you're going to find in those food groups. Folic acid is an absolute building block to platelet levels. Your B12, so you need the B12 that we often find in some of those ingredients or those food sources. Also, vitamin C as another building block, a compound. And vitamin C, we kind of already associate it with boosting your immune system, but how it does that in the chemical component, it actually increases your platelet count. And then also where we see the beef liver, we need increase in iron. So we need good, healthy ferritin levels, and folic acid is also part of that. So those two, folic acid and iron, they go hand in hand. One opens up the other and helps the absorption. And one of the things that we often see is with folks that will have these decreases in platelets, they will also have low B12, low iron, and low folic acid. So let's talk about some additional things that you can add in to your dietary and supplement regimen. You guys know I'm always talking about the liposomal Bs. There's 2 different versions of this. This is just your plain liposomal B Supreme. This happens to be in a methyl version of the B12. And I also love this too because it has milk thistle in it. And it has, let's see, what's that, betaine. So the milk thistle is very good for supportive of your liver. And the liver is the source of where you want your liver to be processing and keeping your blood strong. So this is something you can squirt underneath and hold under your tongue. It's a very good supplement you can take throughout the day. We deplete our Bs when we're under stress. And when we think about the stress of the body when it's dealing with an allergen, a virus, or a bacteria, some pathogen that's that is trying to endanger the body, and your platelets are your frontline defenders or your frontliners working really hard to bolster your defenses, they get caught up in that fight. And so your Bs are going to be critical. There's also a methyl version of this. It is, I have that link down below where it includes the folic acid or methylfolate. Some folks have a gene defect called MTHFR. It's a genetic sequencing where you just don't have the ability to detox out well. Your detox process doesn't function well as your energy transport and energy transfer within your cells. So we need the methyl version, the very bioavailable versions of B12 and folic acid, methyl B12 and methylfolate. We need that version for your body to be able to create those building blocks. We also see that within folic acid, or we also see that with iron. So if you have adequate folic acid levels and the methyl version, you will naturally increase your iron levels. And I work with a ton of patients who have really low iron or are diagnosed with anemia, and yet they have free-floating iron that's at normal levels. So there's a disconnect in the cells being able to absorb and take in the iron. And that's probably many of you who are watching, it's a familiar kind of test result. And a lot of times that doesn't get addressed by the doctor. They'll just say, oh, you are anemic, and they give you an iron pill. But they're not getting to the root cause of why there's that disconnect. And you actually need the methylated version that will break open, help the body absorb the iron. That's a very condensed, watered down explanation of what happens. But I want to kind of describe it in a way I hope it makes sense, that we want to increase those iron levels because ultimately that's what we need to produce more of this, the plasma, platelet-rich plasma. Now, when we're also looking at substances that can help, colostrum, and I'll show you, I've got a colostrum here. Colostrum is full of what we call IgG antibodies. And this we find in breast milk. And so a lot of us, I'm included in the category, were not breastfed. We weren't breastfed and we didn't receive colostrum. That's the first frontline defense. It's liquid gold from our mothers in the beginning of our lives as we begin breastfeeding. And a lot of times that lack of colostrum sets off a cascade of gastrointestinal imbalances and some immune imbalances. We can maintain or get some of the goodness back by taking a supplement. And these generally are bovine in nature. Some might be from a goat, if you will. Right now it's not authorized or approved on the market to consume other breast milk from human breast milk. It's kind of crazy. We sell the breast milk of cows and goats, and we have no problem with that. But when it comes to human breast milk, which is the most adaptable within our body, we don't do that. But colostrum is something that you can take that is directly linked to healing the gut, healing the leaky gut imbalances, and bolstering those IgG, the antibodies that are beneficial to your platelet levels. So that's another complement that you can take. Chlorophyll tabs. We talked a little bit yesterday, the red marine algae. I've had comments, and even Pat was commenting she takes chlorophyll. Spirulina is in that kind of category, but specifically chlorophyll, we notice that it increases the energy of folks that have platelet deficiencies, and it actually minimizes the fatigue. So it boosts energy, lowers fatigue, which is very synonymous with the low iron, the low B12. And so if you are supplementing and you're taking Bs, the chlorophyll is really going to bolster and get you feeling back to normal. And a lot of times people just feel fatigued and they don't know why. And that tends to be the first thing that we find in blood work. They're basic, lab values that we'll see in your low on your platelet levels, you're low on your iron, you're low on all of these other elements that are indicative of some immune response. And sometimes you'll also have white blood cells that are off the charts. So that's really critical. And I see Angela says, can you do a guide for MTHFR? It's hard to find good info. Yes. So if you have MTHFR and you take these and they make you sick, it's because you're not actually able to process them in the right way, which is why the Quicksilver is the name of the brand. I have it linked down below. I think the majority of everything is in my Full Script store. But this is something you can take. The methyl version is going to be very potent. It's a game changer. So the other thing, the last and final, is you want to increase your melatonin levels. There's that whole process of building up compounds and the nutrients and the key beginning ingredients for melatonin. Melatonin needs folic acid. It needs the B12. It needs some of those other compounds we naturally produce melatonin. A lot of times folks are deficient in the melatonin. They're also flip-flopped in their circadian rhythm. The adrenals get involved. But ultimately, melatonin really does help boost that. Partly, it gets us sleeping. Sleep is the most restorative process. We do all sorts of magical things when we're sleeping. We restore our adrenal glands. We boost our red blood cells. We boost our platelets. We oxygenate our body. We detox our organs. So sleep is critical. And REM sleep, I have a link to that. It has a mild version of melatonin. It's not overwhelming. It's 0.75 milligrams. That's a good amount. But it also has the other things that will help aid in sleep. It'll help balance the adrenals. It'll help you feel more balanced in terms of the heat. A lot of times people get furnacey or even have night sweats, hot flashes, when you're menopausal or hormonal. It will balance that out. And it also has really key amino acids that help balance the brain, the neurochemistry. So really, really critical. So those are compounds that you can take. Now, I want to talk to you about, Instagram is really buffering today. I want to talk to you about things to avoid. So if you want to maintain healthy platelet levels, you want to avoid alcohol, you want to avoid cow's milk. And this is, the colostrum is a different bag, but like cow's milk is actually very much an allergen source. So cow's milk's something to avoid. Alcohol, tahini, that is a very common kind of spice or flavor to certain foods that I love it. But some folks that have low platelets, we want to have them avoid tahini. And then also there's a compound in tonic water, quinine. You want to avoid that as well. And that sounds like, it's not bad. But a lot of times people are having tonic and they'll have tonic water with sometimes alcohol, but they might have tonic water with the juice. You want to avoid that because that naturally decreases your platelet levels. So that's my recommendation when you want to bolster your platelets. Part of the work that a lot of my patients do that's anti-aging, they will be in a preparatory state for PRP. And so I've done that before. I've implemented a lot of these things to boost the platelets that my body's naturally producing so that I have more powerful PRP. We see that, you can do PRP hair treatments, PRP on your face, dental work. You can do it in your joints. We're seeing greater instances of clinicians, functional medicine doctors and clinicians doing these restorative joint treatments. And it's an alternative to a hip replacement or shoulder surgery. And the platelets, the plasma, is part of that whole process of healing. And why it's part of the therapeutics with COVID is the plasma is dense in these platelets. It's dense in the immune frontliners. And so it's basically like bringing in 1,000 new hospital workers to relieve the workers that are overwhelmed and burnt out. And we see that as a benefit to patients in COVID. We see it as a benefit to patients dealing with cancer because they wipe everything out. They've got to rebuild it. And so we see these transfusions occurring. And so this is very common for anybody who needs immune support. And for all of us, most of the time you're getting your checkup annually, you get your levels checked, and it might be borderline, it might be normal, but you want to really have optimal levels. And so these are foods you can consume. There's some supplementation you can add into the mix, and then also things to avoid. Certainly the big ones, alcohol, cow's milk. those are critical. A lot of folks are consuming those two things and they're dropping their levels. So very, very beneficial to follow this kind of regimen. Most folks are not consuming a lot of papaya or pumpkin. I love pumpkin seeds. It's part of my seed cycling process that I recommend to a lot of my women for menstrual cycle balancing. But there's a lot of other goodness. And I see some comments here. Freddie, when you use so many supplements, there goes all your time, money, and you no longer have need of food. That's actually not true. Again, I always go food forward. And so what I recommended was all of the food sources. But there's just some things your body cannot articulate or produce. And if you have a methylation challenge, you can't do anything about that. That is a gene defect. So you do need to supplement. And the advancements that we have with science and even nutrition therapy, we now can equip our bodies to be more powerful and more optimized. And sometimes that does include supplementation. But I like to lay everything out and you get to choose. And Freddie, you might not be wanting to do that, but others might be. And so I want to give you guys as much information as important for you to make healthy choices. Let's see, what other questions we have? Yeah, so Gabriel's adorable. Oh, Darlene, you read that article. It is crazy about the biotech conference. Very, very crazy. Let's see. You guys are liking it. Okay, so Instagram, I'm glad you guys are on board. Okay, let's see. Well, I hope this was helpful. This is short and sweet. Getting everything coordinated, balancing Gabriel's school. You guys get to see firsthand the chaos of a morning. But such is life. So please definitely on this video, if you found this impactful, give me a thumbs up. We've had usually in the mornings now, we have about 2,000 to 3,000 join us throughout the time. So I'd love to see our thumbs ups in the hundreds. Also on the replay, just to help support the channel and just help with the whole algorithm. YouTube's changing literally every week. If you guys give it a thumbs up and comment, that's very helpful. I really appreciate that. And Kathy says, what either milk can people drink of cow's milk? Yeah, so first of all, cow's milk is not good. You shouldn't be drinking it. Other options are nut milks. You've got almond, cashew, walnut, oat milk. I actually like oat milk because I bake with it, I cook with it. A lot of options, but definitely cow's milk, we're not meant to drink that. Plus, the cows are not meant to be breastfeeding all the time. And the farms, and yes, this will be my soapbox. I know the farms produce cows and keep them breastfeeding all the time. And then the food that they feed them, corn and soy, they're not meant to eat. They have 4 stomachs. Usually there's an infection that occurs because they're eating food that they're not supposed to be eating. They're supposed to be eating grass and red clover and dandelion, which in the old days, those are very healing and potent for our own detox because you're consuming cow's milk that was unadulterated, rich in probiotics, rich in the healthy fats. We process the milk in such a way where we water it down, we get rid of the healthy fats, and we basically burn out the probiotics. So what you're consuming causes allergies, it causes mucus production, and it causes autoimmunity and a whole bunch of gut issues, leaky gut. And it is, if you're curious about it, Kathy, one of the best books that details the degree of body angst and its links to cancer is to read the China study. That is by one of my favorites, Dr. T. Colin Campbell. Brian and I had the luxury of meeting him and his daughter and his son and daughter-in-law while we were in St. Pete, and I was part of one of their main video rolls out. They've been a part of some major food-based documentaries, but T. Colin Campbell used to be part of the food industry. And then got out of that and switched as he observed that they were bolstering animals with antibiotics and really unhealthy nutrients to get them growing faster. And some of those additives to their food, they linked in the China study. He looked at Taiwan specifically, those individuals who could afford the Western diet like milk and beef, through hamburgers or whatnot, were having higher rates of liver cancer. And he found the links between cow's milk and some of the other foods that come from those animals. So milk is just, and it's funny, I told Brian, like, I have not had milk. It's been 2 decades. Like, as soon as I learned this, I cut that stuff out. And the thing that you have to be really cautious of is, there's proteins we don't digest well, the casein protein. So a lot of people have allergies to that. The lactose intolerant, that's an enzyme that gets completely obliterated by the way we process it. Those are some things that most people are familiar with hearing over the market. Now we've got, cow's milk that they add lactate, the enzyme to it. It's supposed to be better. Yes, I'll put the book on the link down below. It's so great. The latest Plant Pure Nation, that's the video documentary as part of rolling it out in St. Pete. The producer grew up in our area, and he actually went to Florida State in the movie school. And so really, I love them. But that's a really good documentary on how overwhelming the lobbying is of the dairy growers, or not. I don't know, the dairy farmers. They're not called growers. The dairy farmers and agricultural lobbying firms, that they really control a lot of the legislation when it comes down to what type of food do we sell and supply kids in schools. And, it's milk, and then it's chocolate milk full of sugar, and then it's pink, red. So it's strawberry milk. It's red and full of sugar. I mean, it's like double whammy of gross. So definitely the China study and those books are great. And Shelby says, love Dr. Campbell. His wife and daughter have a plant. Yes, they do. And the Plant Pure Nation cookbook is awesome. Kim is fantastic. I love her. It is a wonderful documentary. So, and Freddie, I'm so glad that you like it. Yes, food is medicine. And I too agree. I do wish it was healthier. That's why, if you can grow organically, we had to store them in October, 2 of my big stocks to my peppers, but I have 7 purple peppers right now I've got to eat. I'm going to be giving some away and freezing some, which is great. But there's a lot that, when we start discovering more about our food, it's not medicinal. Food actually becomes a toxin source, and very unhealthy. And SAD, the Standard American Diet, SAD. We call it the SAD diet because there's just so many underlying health conditions that come with our normal everyday diet. And, when you look at lifestyle choices and lifestyle changes, especially now we've got, GMOs, we've got genetically modified organisms that changes how our body processes foods. Organic, if you choose organic and grow organic, you've got control over, is that a genetically modified organism? But there's just so much we don't always know when we're shopping and buying. So you have to be very much sleuthy and a detective. Let's see. Whitney says, I'd love to use a liposomal B vitamin, but I see they often have tocopherol. Actually, let's see. I think this actually does not have any tocopherol. Yeah, it does not. I swear my handwriting, my eyesight's getting really bad. But what is it called? The Quicksilver, that one should be good. Rick, thank you for the $10 live chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. That made my morning. It's been really, school is hard. Okay, so let me run, but I hope this is helpful. If you guys love this, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate your time. I'll include all the links for what I recommended. It's down below. I will add in the link to the China study and the cookbook, Kim Campbell's cookbook. She's great. She's on Instagram too. I love her. And the documentary Plant Pure Nation, I'll post a link to that. It used to be on Netflix. But I'm not sure if it's still available. It's very powerful, and it'll get you really frustrated that, we think we have a lot of control over some of the things, and we don't. The lobbying is very, very heavy, as it is with all these other brands. So I also, stay tuned. I'm going to be posting some new documentaries. I know you guys loved that last documentary, The Truth About Cancer. I've got one coming out by one of my super mentors. So I'm going to post that. and then a few others that are coming out. So stay tuned. I'll be filling you guys in. So monitor the YouTube community tab. And by the way, I'm taking a poll as I'm articulating information for my hormone webinar that you guys, I've been talking about this since April, but it is happening. A lot of pieces, moving pieces, I've got to get coordinated. But I have a poll and I'd love to hear your thoughts, men and women, about your experience and highest frustration points when it comes to hormones. That poll is in the YouTube community tab. So when you go to my YouTube channel, you've got videos, playlists, and I think communities, the next tab, click on that. It's like 3 or 4 down and vote. I think we've had almost 700 people vote. I'd love to get 1,000 to get a good kind of percentage or more. But definitely, thank you. Thank you for your time. And Freddie, thank you. You've been so great. And Rick, I really appreciate you, one of our community members. And as always, Pat, thanks for monitoring. And Whitney, congratulations. She's recently engaged. Yay. And super excited. So let me know when a launch is coming. Gabriel was so excited by all of the stuff that happened in the summer. So hopefully we will see SpaceX launch. He's all into space. Okay, you guys have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, and then Friday will be our live Q&A. So any questions you have, save those for Friday and we'll go over those live. Bye, everybody.